Well, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Angus Grady to Through Their Eyes. So, hello, Angus. How you doing?
Morning, David. I'm well, thank you. How are you? It's
Good.
just, yeah,
Yeah,
loving
I'm,
it.
I'm very well, and yeah, lovely day that we're meeting on, nice and early as well, which is good.
Yeah,
Get the day up and running. Um,
exactly.
Now we're going to have a chat with Angus about his career, what he's learnt, what's gone well, what hasn't gone along, or the right tracks in his career, and the learnings and what went well and what didn't go so well, and also to find out where he's at the moment and what the future is, because yeah, we're all sat in times at the moment where we're not really sure what the future is and how Angus is going to continue to develop and grow his business that he's going to tell us more about. So let me start off with the first question then is, just give us a bit of an overview of your career to date.
God blimey. And we've only got how long? You know, I've always been what I call an overambitious underachiever. I've done lots of different things.
Hang on, I've got to make a note of that's a class one, that is. And
Yeah.
over what?
So overambitious underachiever. Um, and I've done so many different things, and I was never sure what I wanted to do. So I left university, did a bit of traveling. I got a job as a barman in a wine bar in Covent Garden when it was really just becoming Covent Garden. Then I became the manager of Blake's Wine Bar. If anybody remembers it, please do get in contact.
Where was that?
I was in it's Wellington Street opposite Penhaligon's. It's
Oh
now a
wow.
Cafe Rouge, and it was
Oh,
great. It's wonderful. So I was the manager there for 3 years, and then I kind of got headhunted into a media company because essentially we had a lot of media people coming in, and one of the MDs from a company called TMD said, "You're wasted behind this bar and running this place. You need to get into marketing." Anyway, I then got into marketing, and then from there into ad agencies, where I progressed through. I kind of was part of what was called the information department, which essentially in an ad agency is the Carlsberg complaints department. It's the library where nobody ever goes. So I transitioned them from libraries to proactive centres of knowledge. So I'd go out to the people rather than them come to me. And it was McCann Erickson, where I was, it was considered, oh, how dare you do this? And again, I got kind of headhunted into other agencies where I developed the concept and information and knowledge departments for big agencies. So I was lucky to work
brilliant.
in some top 10 agencies. Had a bit of an issue with the liquid that floats in the bottom of a glass at lunchtime. Work was getting in the way of my drinking. And essentially, over the years, I became, all of us have a little thing that gets in the way, and alcohol was mine, and it brought me down, and I lost more jobs than Sinatra had comebacks.
Yeah.
And on my day, I was great. But on my bad day, boy, was I rubbish.
Yes. Yeah. And
So so then I started working for myself, and that's morphed from what I started doing to what I do now. It only feels like 5 minutes, but it's been a lot longer. Yeah.
yeah. So how have you enjoyed the transition from working from others for yourself?
I found it tricky to start with because, again, I was still in my drinking phase. So I had this vision of me being the managing director of a company. And so some days as the managing director, I'd go out for lunch. Sometimes I'd take the marketing director, who was me. I'd take the finance director. So
Yeah.
sometimes all four of us would go out and get
Yeah.
utterly rubbishly trashed. So
Yeah.
I didn't adjust well, but then I just when I got sober, it kind of focused me into what I needed to be doing, really. And it's
Yeah.
just been, it's never a smooth road. I defy anybody that says, yeah, I started in 1976 and now it's rubbish. It's back and forth and up and down, good years, bad years, but loving it. I wouldn't be. I mean, I'm unemployable now,
I
but
think we all are.
yeah, at like 62, you think, wow, no one's ever going to give me a job.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and yeah, so I think now, David, I've kind of got to the point where I am very, very comfortable with it, and it kind of suits me. I think I've
Brilliant.
become the person. I'm not sure whether it was David Bowie said that age allows you to become the person you always should have been, and I love that. I love that.
Yeah, and well, he's obviously right because he said lots of wise words. But
It did.
I think, yeah, it's that maturity, that experience. I mean, that's obviously going to be my next question. How have you learned from your experiences? But I think that is a case of that. Is that we learn and perhaps become a little bit more balanced and tolerant, and you know,
Yeah, I think that the edges of my arrogance were like knocked off almost immediately. I
yeah,
mean, look at me. Do you know who I am? Kind of attitude
yeah,
went straight away. I mean, I think that we have to take. I mean, my experience through drinking certainly made me realise that that I needed to change, and I took a lot of my recover. I don't call myself a recovering alcoholic. I call myself a discovering alcoholic, and I think because for me, I'm only 16 this year, so I'm 16 years sober. So I'm a
wow,
16-year-old in a in a 50 in like a 63-year-old, and to take what I learned from my program, my 12-step program, and apply it not every single day, but elements of all of that do play a part. Doing the next best right thing. If you make a mistake, be honest about it. Fess up.
yeah.
Help other people. You've got to give it away to keep it, basically.
Yeah, very much so. And through all your different careers in different jobs, which I must admit I'm quite jealous because I'd love to have worked in a bar in London. I must say,
Oh, it's wonderful.
yeah, I'd love to have done that. Were you always conscious of learning and developing and growing yourself?
I think my background is from a big family, and I always was, like parents seem to have favourites, and I was always told that I was a bit of an idiot. I was slow and thick, so I was always conscious that in order to get anywhere, I would have to learn, and I've always over prepared for things, and I've always been very conscious that you can't go into. It's great to be able to busk it, but as Elton John said, you can't become an overnight. It actually took him 25 years to become an overnight success, and
Yeah,
preparation, I think, is really. And that's I constantly am thinking, what else can I add to what I do to make it better for
yes,
myself as well as the people that I'm
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
helping.
So you're consciously always thinking, yeah, how can I learn? How can I develop? How
Oh,
can I improve?
yeah. I, I,
Yeah,
I, I try and set aside time every day, whether it's half an hour, just to clock into a webinar, just to tune into something. So this week I'm kind of learning more about lead magnets. Not that I need to know it, but I feel as if I do need to know it because people are talking about them again.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I sat through a turgidly dull webinar yesterday where I almost lost the will to live. And then in the last 5 minutes, they told me what I'd waited 55 minutes to hear. But I now know where they were born and their background and what people think about them.
Yeah,
So
sometimes you do sit there and just get on with it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. And is there anything you wish you'd have known at the start of your career?
I think at the start of my career, if I'd have known, if I could have grasped how confidence changes your attitude to everything, then I think I would have been in a better place. I've always been semi-nervous and anxious about how, that imposter syndrome anxiousness and all that.
Yeah.
And I think that and everyone says it, but I do think that my best is ahead of me. I feel more creative now, and I feel more comfortable with who I am. And I try and work a 60-40-20 lifestyle. Okay, so I'm 60. I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be as fit as I was at 40, and I'm definitely thinking as dangerously as I did at 20.
Oh, we like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's my kind of mantra, 60-40-20. And I think, how can I kind of apply that in what I do? And if I'd have known at 20 what I know now in terms of confidence, that I am good at what I do and I am good at how I present with people, because I'm a real kind of people person. And when I realized that about 4 or 5 years ago, it kind of changed everything that I did.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Love it.
brilliant. And just going back to, being an alcoholic, what have you learned coming out of that? What have you learned, and how have you been able to apply any of those learnings to other parts of your life and your business?
Well, the 12-step program certainly was something that I go through and I'm conscious of at the moment. To me, AA was a bridge to normal living. Some people substitute one obsession, drinking, for another one, which is the AA principles. So what I've learned is that you've got to be flexible about how you do stuff. People matter. You know, one of the actual steps, as I mentioned, was that, you know, if you make a mistake, you've got to go back and you've got to really fess up to it. You can't let it linger.
Yeah.
You've got to be honest with people, and where possible, we have like tradition 5, which basically says when somebody needs my help through AA, then I'm honor and duty bound to go and help them, because what was given to me freely, I should then give back freely.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so essentially I try and, where possible, I try and do the next best right thing. If I piss somebody off, or sorry, if I mess somebody about, then I'll go back and tell them.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's kind of like, it's a great 12-step you know, I think anyone, whether you've got an addiction or an issue, should really be looking at the 12-step program.
Yeah.
There's a card that comes, it's called the Just for Today card. And if you people should download that, because it's a wonderful, beautiful piece of succinct literature that's on a card, and essentially it kind of says it all, really. And I've carried mine, and it kind of looks like that.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And it's just a little bit of prose, not a lot to read every day.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of a little guiding light.
Yes.
Guiding light for how you should treat yourself. Because if you don't respect yourself, then you can't be respecting other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I particularly like that about sort of when other people need help. Well, I'm duty bound to go and support them because I've received help. And I do believe in the law of what I call the law of reciprocation.
Yeah.
That, you know, if you go and help others, you know, good things will happen to you. And I quite like that concept, the law of reciprocation.
And it's been mentioned by loads of people. The 5 steps by, I can never pronounce his name, but Zig Ziglar talked about.
Oh, yes.
You know, the best thing you can do is to help others, because then it comes back to you.
Yeah, yeah, no, really important. So tell us a little. So that's your career. So tell us a little bit about your business now. What is it that you're doing now? What fills your days?
My day is filled with anything to do with LinkedIn. Can never get this right. With like LinkedIn.
It's that way.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I kind of help people to what I call magnetize their LinkedIn profiles to make them so they attract the right people and get rid of the wrong people. So it's anything to do with LinkedIn, which is about branding. It's a positioning platform, and it's about new business and prospecting and brand, developing your own personal brand, which is what this is all about. And I think if COVID has taught us anything, then it's, you know, it's the Davids, the Anguses that people go to. They don't go to a company as such. They go to an individual. People buy into people long before they buy from them.
Yeah.
And so I help people with that side of their social media. And I call myself the LinkedIn unlocker. It's a bit cheesy, but it's unlocking their marketing, not just through LinkedIn, but through other platforms as well. Because there's a lot of charlatans out there that will charge you £1 million just to do nothing.
Yes, yeah.
So that's kind of, my day is filled with that, really.
Yeah, yeah. And you've got another passion with regards to social media in terms of your photography as well.
Oh, yeah. People say, God, if every inch of the canal in Berkhamsted has been filmed by me. I just love photography. I love architectural photography as well. You know, it's going to sound mad, but somebody has to like it. You know, like staircases, you know, metal staircases. Wow, in black and white photography, and bridges, and sunrises, sunsets, and just anything with tone and contrast. And I seem to be able to see a good photo, and I only use my, you know, like phone, but you get some wonderful.
I assumed you had some wonderful gadget.
No, it's just my old Galaxy. It's
good for you.
I know, and I just think, because there's ways of manipulating it and thinking, well, if I wait a little bit, and like the light will bounce off that, and you know, and I'm standing there by the canal with my selfie stick, and people are going, this is true story. I was almost lying on the floor trying to get the shot along the, because like the lock was full, and all of the light was bouncing off the water, and I was lying on the floor, and this man said, "Are you all right, mate?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Don't worry, I'm only taking a photograph." He said, "I thought you'd fallen over," because I had my stick. You know, it's great. Love it.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I can imagine you get lots of strange comments.
Yeah, very. Very. But
Yeah,
I just because it kind of grounds me, you know.
yeah,
It's really just makes me just forget about everything else.
yeah,
And it's been quite stressful over the last week or so because I've actually had a client who, bless him, he's absolutely, you know, he's very demanding, but he's one of these people that shows no emotion. So so you're not quite sure if you've hit the nail on the head or not. And yesterday afternoon, after a 2-hour Zoom with him and his colleagues, he actually smiled and he went, and I just, do you know what? Do you know what, David? I slept the best I've ever slept last night for a long time because it's that sort of thing that's in the back of your mind, and you think,
yeah,
am I doing it right? Am I, you know? And we all have that kind of little imposter that suddenly says, "You're rubbish at what you do," and
yeah,
you know, and it's,
yeah. Imposter syndrome.
yeah,
We
hate
all
it,
get it.
hate
We all
it.
get it. Yeah, I don't know anybody who doesn't get it.
No, yeah,
And the ones that don't look like get it, they're just very good at hiding that
yeah.
they don't get it. So along your journey, what have you enjoyed the most through your career?
I think I enjoyed the good days of ad agencies because I knew I was doing something different and it was recognized as different, and for quite a while I was quite the person to actually nab and to actually headhunt. So I went from 2 or 3 agencies very quickly, which was great, and I like the idea that people see stuff differently. So
Mm,
like I said, we had the Carlsberg complaints department, like a library of stuff that nobody ever touched. So taking it out to who needed it was just great. It was, and it's such a simple idea, but it wasn't seen as simple in lots of, and it revolutionized how agencies worked. And I'm not saying it was my concept, but I think
yeah,
the way I did it was kind of different, and that I really enjoyed.
yeah,
And and some of the great highs of working for yourself. I mean, I love to get on stage and talk. You know, I mean, like, you know, I just, it's just me, and I'm getting better and more confident at it. I mean, you know, because I open the fridge, the light comes on, I'll do 10 minutes. So, you know, it's
I've got
just,
an audience. The yogurt.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I just go. So, yeah, and just all of those. So the ad agencies certainly, but also aspects in the last 2 or 3 years of you know, like speaking have been great as well.
Yeah, brilliant. And along the way, has anyone given you any wonderful advice that you sort of look back on and think, "Oh, yeah, that was great words of wisdom."
I kind of worked with a line manager years ago, and she just used to say, you know, if you can't be yourself, then you're fooling yourself. So she said, never ever try and emulate anybody else, because even though you don't know it, each of us have our own little ways of doing it.
Yeah,
And and again, someone else who I'm very fond of, you know, always says, you know, if you look back, then, you know, look back but don't stare. The past is for reference, not for residence, and I love that.
yeah, that's very important. So,
Yeah.
so what next? How are you going to continue to develop, future-proof, continue to learn, so you can continue to add value to all your lovely customers?
Well, essentially, I think that I'm kind of morphing into slightly different areas, so more into marketing side of stuff. I think that I've got a lot to offer in terms of, you know, how I do LinkedIn. So yes, LinkedIn is going to form a part of that. But what I want to do more than anything else is I want to get on the speaker circuit. I want to
Ah,
be, I want to be that kind of 15-minute, you know, sort of 20-minute LinkedIn slot in a business conference. And you know what it's like, you get offered these, but then they say, oh, that's going to cost you 2 or 3 thousand pounds, and I just think it's not really
You-
what I want.
yeah, you've received those as well, have
Oh,
you?
all the time, all the time. And then I know people who've gone on these and they say, I was invited to this interview. No, you weren't. You paid for it. It cost you,
Yeah.
you know. So I would like to be asked through merit. And I have this vision of standing on the O2, delivering a comedic LinkedIn 20 minutes. Because, you know, again, comedy, humor is kind of part of me as well.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm a member of the Professional Speakers Association. Have you tried them at all?
Do you know PSA? Do you know a guy called Graham Frost?
Mm. I'm not
He
sure
keeps
I do.
asking me along, and he used to be in the, oh gosh, I think his might have been St Albans. John
St
Baker.
Albans, yes. Yeah, I
John
know John.
Baker.
I know John. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
John's kind of suggested it a couple of times, and I've always been on the point of doing it. Then something's happened. Like, I mean, COVID happened this year, so
Yeah.
that's kind of
Well,
stopped
we
it.
do on. I mean, like, I'm Thames Valley. I sort of flip
Yeah.
between Thames Valley and London, and just they're doing it online now, so it's only £10 for
Oh,
about 2 or
okay.
3 hours. I will send you next. I will send you an email that they send out about the next
Oh, lovely.
events, and you
Yeah,
can just go
lovely.
online. I've really enjoyed it, and it's helped me because when I joined, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to talk about, but it helped me decide to do the future proofing and the book, and now talk about future proofing yourself, keeping yourself relevant and value for the rest of your career and things like that. And I did the 2 great challenges. One is speaker factor. So when you're new to the PSA, you go on stage and hopefully get to the finals for at the
I've
conference.
seen that. Yeah, yeah, I've seen that.
And you do 5 minutes on your talk. And I did my Buzz and Woody one about future proofing. So bear with me one moment. So it was about Andy, who had Woody, who was his favourite toy,
Yeah, yeah.
but his skills became sort of redundant and out of date. And then Buzz Lightyear came along and took him to infinity and beyond, and had lots more skills. And he upskilled himself, and he didn't so much. So I did that, and then the next year, I don't know why I did this, but I did. They have a comedy night, stand up, and I did 5 minutes of comedy. And
Wow.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's on my YouTube site, and the first 50 seconds, and then they got it. And then it went really well in the end, because the stupid thing, mate, was me. I just couldn't think what to talk about, so I just took the Michael out of the Professional Speakers
Yeah,
Association,
yeah, yeah.
which is a big no-no, but people loved it in the end.
It's
They
good,
just
isn't it? When it, yeah.
they just didn't know whether to laugh or not at the start, and they didn't laugh.
It's a bit like Ricky Gervais
Yes.
doing the Tom Hanks's face is just a perler.
Yeah. So no, you ought to. It is good, and I you could try Toastmasters, but I'm not so sure you get so much out of Toastmasters.
Yeah,
Um,
Toastmasters sounds a bit more structured,
yeah,
a
I
bit
think
more.
you're sort of more maverick, and
Oh
yeah,
yeah, gosh, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I would give it a go, and
Yeah, I made a note of that.
I would give it a go. Yeah. So anything else with regards to your future? So you still love the LinkedIn, getting in the marketing, but you'd like to move more into sort of
I
a
kind of want to do a
speaker.
bit more speaking. I've got a book in me which I keep starting and putting down, and it's just called The Prospecting Code: Your PC Guide to Marketing, and it's everything is a PC, podcast, phone call, postcard, perfect client,
Yeah.
prospecting, connecting. So I've got like the outlines of like 15, 20 chapters, and I write a little bit every now and again. And I had a splurge when all of this started,
Yeah.
that and then it just kind of drifts
Do
off.
it. Do it.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I was, I'm working on another one now, but I can certainly introduce you to a good publisher that actually didn't cost a lot of money at all.
Yeah.
I was really, really pleased about what they've
I think
done.
it's one of those things that you kind of know that you've got a book inside you and you want to get it out, and it never quite happens. And I know that it opens doors, and I've seen it open doors for people whose books have been completely rubbish, and
Yeah.
for people whose books have been really good.
Well, it is an extension of a business card, let's be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
I've got no sort of, selling a few, but it's never going to make
You're
me a
never going to
multi-millionaire.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
But
I mean,
yeah,
you've got to
so
be realistic with that.
yeah, so kind of that kind of stuff. Want to do more speaking, and it's just face-to-face stuff I really enjoy. I really
Yeah.
enjoy that,
Yeah. Yeah.
because like my
Well,
training sessions are always kind of vibrant and funny, and and people come away with it. And I think you've got to, if you can laugh, you can learn,
yeah.
is kind of how I see it.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that. You've got to have a bit of fun with it. And so, how have you coped with doing sessions on Zoom?
I've always done my LinkedIn surgeries over Zoom anyway, so
Yeah,
it's not been an issue. In fact, if anything, it's been easier for people to buy into what I do Because
Yeah.
previously they'd always say, "Oh no, can you come to Birmingham to do this face to face?" And I'm saying, "Well, yeah, but I've got my travel time and all that."
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now over Zoom, it's great. So 90 minutes recorded. So there's a triage session where we ask what problems you've got.
Yeah.
We do the surgery to actually put those right and to talk about LinkedIn. And then we do an outpatients call to say, David, why haven't you implemented what we did?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do make people accountable for what, because it's great that they paid me, but it's no satisfaction to look at your profile 2 months later to
Yeah.
see it's in the same spot.
Yeah. You want
So
to see
yeah,
they've got value out of it.
well, not only value, but they've actually moved it forward themselves, and they've actually got something actually from it. You know, like
Yes.
more
Yeah.
appointments. And I never promise that they're going to get clients because that's
Yeah.
just ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's been brilliant then. That's given us a wonderful story of the history and the future. But sort of just to finish off with, I think you, as you started off being a over ambitious underachiever, um, I think you've been very ambitious and you've been a great achiever.
Well, I've kind of got there in the end. You know, I'm kind of one of these people. I mean, I didn't learn to drive until I was 30. You know, and then my career in advertising was my 30s and my early 40s, and
Yeah.
then since then I've kind of caught up with myself. So I'm kind of thinking that by the time I'm 80, I might get my first long pair of trousers, and
Yeah.
then
And you'll have cracked it.
I'd have cracked it then. And it's like oh.
Yeah.
There's a fantastic comedy thing, and I can't remember who he is, but he's a French comedian, and he did the Royal Variety Show years ago, and he spent the first 5 minutes. His whole act is getting the microphone because it sticks to his hand, it falls off the thing. It's brilliant, and then the minute he gets it on and right, the lights go out, and that's what I think will happen with me. I'll just get myself sorted,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
go, bang, that's it, mate. Boom.
Brilliant. And that brings another question into my head that I wasn't going to ask you, but I will because you sort of mentioned it. I've been interviewing and I've been doing a little bit of coaching with a couple of people who are looking to retire. And what are your thoughts on retirement?
I think for me, I'm going to be active for a long time. I'm going to be doing something, and one of the things I do really want to do is actually launch something called 60preneurs, because I think that there's going to be a lot of people in my age group who are forced into
Yeah.
a position where they have to then start their own companies because of COVID has really highlighted the fact that there's going to be a lot of redundancy, sadly,
Mm,
and I think that it's going to be at the top, or it's going to be the higher age end,
yes, very
and
much so.
and a lot of those people have always hung on by their fingernails, thinking I've got 2 more years, 3 more years, and my pension's going to do it for me.
Yeah.
And I think that after this, they're going to find that they're going to be called in. Well, Derek, well, Mary, we're going to let you go. And that was a phrase I never liked before, letting you go. But the whole phrase itself is so positive, but taken so negatively.
Yes. Yes.
Let you go, do your thing.
Yeah. Go and be free.
Yeah, but you hang on to your master's lead, don't you? You stay near where you
Yeah.
want to be. So I
Yeah.
think there's going to be a whole range of people who are going to need some
Yeah.
practical support in
Yeah.
lots of areas.
But for yourself, it's about getting that balance of doing things more on your terms
Yeah.
and
Oh,
enjoying it.
certainly.
And I think I think most of us are looking at it that ways in some respects.
I mean, I would love to be able to have a property, out in somewhere like Portugal and spend a week or two a month in Portugal. And it's
Yeah.
very doable. It's very
Yeah.
doable. I
Yeah.
mean, you and I are quite lucky. We live in an affluent kind of
It is a nice
swathe of the
area.
country.
Yes.
And, in terms of property prices, if we wanted to downsize to a two-man tent, then we'd have quite a bit of money in order to,
Yeah.
hopefully, in order to go and buy it. So my dream would be that.
Yeah. I'd just be happy with a shed in the middle of a field, as my family would say. They
Yeah,
always say, "You'd just be happy living in a shed in the middle of the field." I go,
yeah.
"Yeah,
You and your
suit me.
bikes and your
Yeah.
shed, yeah.
Yeah, suit me. I don't have a problem with that. As long as it's got a
Yeah,
little stove in there, little log stove, I'll be more than
yeah,
happy.
yeah.
And a radio. Don't need anything else, but
But
there we go.
friends of ours have got a place out in Portugal, and they literally spend 2 weeks there and 2 weeks here, or
Yeah,
even a week here, because
yeah,
they're into multi-level marketing, and I won't say what product it is, but it's not something I. But anyway,
yes,
they actually have got a business, so they come back for a week and have their meetings, or do it over Zoom.
yeah, yeah.
You could be anywhere.
totally different lifestyles.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wake
to
up
what
and
we
the sun's shining every day.
yeah,
Wow.
can't be bad. Well, they
Can't be
can
bad.
live in England because it's sunny every day,
Oh,
isn't it now?
isn't it just
Yeah, it's wonderful.
fantastic?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure how lockdown would have gone if it had been the winter. Jeepers, could you imagine it?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And from my perspective, thinking about the poor people who are like suffering with alcohol, you know, at least didn't get out and walk now, but being
yes,
caged up, oh,
yes,
God
yeah,
forbid, God
yeah.
forbid.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time. Been
A
absolute,
pleasure.
absolute privilege to spend time with you
Well,
as
no,
always.
thank you for asking
And
me.
I look forward to catching up and seeing you again soon. And I look forward to that book.
Yeah, be afraid. It will come out soon.
Brilliant.
Well,
Good
who
stuff.
knows?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.